were the two key factors that actually predicted weight gain. This has to do with how we're built, Chen explained. You see, in the distant past, we didn't have access to 7-Elevens or Whole Foods. We never knew when we were going to get the next meal. So when we got food, our body had to somehow find a way to make it last until whenever it thought the next time was going to be. We evolved to store the energy as fat, meaning we could still stay active and alive when there was no food available, even for days. It used our hormones, the body's chemical messenger, to regulate this. So that's why when you starve or deprive yourself of particular nutrients, including fats and carbs, your hormones will tell you to eat and store as much as possible to prepare for the famine it thinks is about to happen. Therefore, eating less actually causes you to store fat. So in order to actually lose weight and keep it off forever, you need to deal with your hormones, not your food. Something we'll talk about in more detail in a minute. Which brings us to big weight loss lie number 2. This one was shocking to me, and it's related to exercise. I mean, how often do you hear that to lose fat, you must grind away hour upon hour of tedious exercise? The thinking goes that exercise helps you burn calories, so helps you lose weight. While this may sound like logical sense, it simply isn't true. A study published in the American Journal of Medicine that reviewed and analyzed 14 randomized controlled trials of over 1,800 people concluded that isolated aerobic exercise is not an effective weight loss therapy in obese or overweight patients. This is thought to be due to people tending to vastly overestimate how much energy they actually burn, so end up overcompensating. Excessive exercise also causes an increase in cortisol, also known as the stress hormone, which has been shown to encourage fat storage, particularly around the belly and face. So, in other words, all those hours of grinding away hour upon boring hour on the exercise cycle can be for nothing, even though that's exactly what most trainers and weight loss companies recommend. And with that, Chen revealed big weight loss lie number 3. Overweight and obese people have a slower metabolism. This is not only totally false, but the exact opposite is true. Research shows that overweight people have a faster metabolism than thinner people. This is because larger bodies require more energy to carry out basic functions. Certain crash diets and other calorie-restricted ones can actually slow your metabolism down. Your body is forced to break down muscle to use for energy. The lower your muscle mass, the slower your metabolism. It then becomes a lot easier to put fat back on after coming off the diet. So if you've been told these 3 things before, that lack of exercise, not dieting enough, or a sluggish metabolism is the reason you're overweight, you've been purposely lied to. These factors have no influence whatsoever on the long-term number on your scale, because they don't address the real root cause. What is the real root cause, I asked. He thought for a moment and then took a pitcher from the center of the table. He poured the contents into a glass and placed it in front of me. "This is," he said as he pointed to the glass. Water?" I asked. "Yes and no. You see, what you think is a glass of fresh, clean water is actually teeming with little foreign particles, and these are what's making us fat." "Serious?" I said with a chuckle. "Deadly," he answered, without a hint of sarcasm. "You see, this water contains millions of microscopic pieces of plastic. And this plastic is made up of chemicals that can actually cause you to store fat." "Plastic?" I asked. "How do you know there's plastic in it?" "It's in practically all drinking water on the planet. You see, when plastic is disposed of, it can't biodegrade. But what happens is that over time it starts to break down into smaller and smaller pieces, eventually becoming what is known as microplastics. These particles of plastics are so tiny that you can't even spot them with the naked eye. But they are now everywhere, in our rivers, our seas, our fish, even the very air you breathe. They've even been found in rain, and filtration systems can't remove them because they're too small, so they end up in our tap water. And here is something that will shock you. The average person unknowingly eats, swallows, and breathes in thousands of tiny pieces of plastic each week, an amount that equals the weight of a credit card. A week! Now, stay with me here for a minute, because this is where it gets very interesting. Plastic is found all over the world in millions of different products, and scientists are only just now beginning to understand how harmful it can be. You see, it's made up of many different chemicals, some of which are obesogens, meaning they make you fat. Obesogens are chemicals that are endocrine or hormonal disruptors. They wreak havoc on your hormone health. That includes those hormones that control hunger and how many calories you consume get burned right away and how many are stored as fat. A shocking 2015 Canadian study also found that when normal stem cells are exposed to obesogens, they can actually mutate into fat cells. Another study in Japan confirmed this by showing cells which would normally become connective tissue became fat cells when obesogens were added. Chen took out his phone and showed me this video. This is what happens when regular stem cells are exposed to obesogens. They turn into fat cells and expand instantly. Shocking, right? And that's what obesogens found in microplastics are doing to your body all day long. That's why it's so hard to lose weight no matter what you try. And it's the reason that keeping the pounds off long term is almost impossible. Now, there are many types of obesogens, of which bisphenol A, or BPA as it's known, is one of the most widely known. BPA can be found in thousands of different types of products, from kids' toys, clothing, cosmetics like body wash, shampoo, and toothpaste, all the way up to food packaging, canned goods, and even baby bottles. A team from the Department of Neuroscience in Ontario found that when they fed mice low doses of BPA, far lower than the amounts considered to be safe by the FDA, their hormones started freaking out and they quickly ballooned in size. Some countries have even taken the step of banning BPA in anything that comes in contact with food. But the chemicals they have replaced it with are arguably worse. And it's not just plastics that contain these obesogens. They are also found in your car exhaust fumes, especially diesel, as well as in commonly used pesticides, and even the non-stick coating on pots and pans we cook with. That's why it's almost impossible to avoid exposure. And countless studies have directly linked these obesogens to excessive ghrelin, leptin, hunger, and obesity, regardless of age, genetics, diet, metabolism, or even activity level. So your hunger pangs and weight gain has been scientifically proven to be unstoppable because of these man-made chemicals that are floating throughout your body, wreaking havoc with your hormones and causing normal cells to turn into expanded fat cells. Just consider the following. Click below to claim your package now.